"Where are you right now?" I asked my daughter. She nonchalantly replied, "Anywhere is fine." Frustrated, I insisted she come home immediately. But my daughter retorted, "No way. We're on an overseas vacation. We won't be back for another 3 days." When I called her, she didn't seem remorseful at all. Instead, she answered with high energy and laughter. As I passed by my daughter and son-in-law's house, I heard a faint cry for help from inside. The voice was incredibly small, that of my beloved grandchild. Using my spare key to enter the house, I discovered my 5-year-old grandchild tightly bound in a rope, hidden deep inside the closet. My daughter and son-in-law had exposed my precious grandchild to danger, and the consequences were severe. Fueled by anger, I resolved that my daughter and son-in-law must be held accountable, no matter what. My name is Mary, and I am a grandmother. Lately, the chilly weather has kept me indoors, making me feel quite lonely. You see, my husband passed away several years ago, leaving me to live alone. His death was truly heartbreaking, and the loneliness persisted for a long time. However, there's something that brings me joy now. My kindergarten-age grandchild, Mia. Over the past few years, I haven't seen my daughter Samantha and her husband Michael very often. The frequency of our visits decreased significantly after Mia was born. But despite being a somewhat absent grandmother, Mina has grown very fond of me. Occasionally, she'll say, "I love you, Grandma." Each time she does, my heart swells with affection. As a result, I find myself buying her various things and even sending her allowances. People around me recognize this as grandma spoiling, but I have no regrets. Mia is my one and only grandchild, a precious presence that cannot be replaced. Right now, my love for Mia fills my heart completely. However, I also have concerns revolving around my daughter and son-in-law's parenting approach. Frankly, Samantha tends to prioritize her own needs over those of her child, and Michael, her husband, doesn't seem particularly attached to Mia. When I raised Samantha, I believe I showered her with affection, just as my late husband did. That's why, deep down, I want to voice my complaints about Samantha's current family situation. On the other hand, I hesitate to interfere in their parenting decisions. Honestly, anything I say would likely be unwelcome, and they probably wouldn't listen. Moreover, if Samantha's stress from being scolded by me were to inadvertently affect Mia, it would be disastrous. So despite my conflicting feelings, I've decided not to meddle too much in their parenting choices. Although it's lonely not seeing Mia often, I know that if necessary, I can still visit her. Currently, they reside in the house where my late husband and I used to live. After his passing, managing the spacious home alone became overwhelming, so I handed it over to them. That's why I also have a spare key. Sometimes, I find myself thinking that I'd like to visit their home and see Mia, even if it's just spontaneously. One day, I had the chance to pass by my daughter and son-in-law's house after a long time. Since their home is quite a distance from where I currently live, I rarely visit on my own. However, there was a reason I decided to go there that day. I had been invited by a friend who lives in the neighborhood. This friend happened to be a classmate from middle school, so I assumed we would reminisce about old memories. Little did I know that the conversation would take a much more serious turn. "Mary, do you really know about Maya?" my friend asked. "Of course, she's my granddaughter. How could I not know?" I answered matter-of-factly, unaware of my own ignorance. "No, that's not what I meant. Could it be that Mia is experiencing abuse?" My foolish voice blurted out instinctively. "What do you mean?" I decided to listen to my friend's detailed account. However, as I heard the story unfold, feeling increasingly uneasy after hearing everything, I collapsed onto my knees. To think that Maya had been going through something like that without my knowledge. Seeing my exhausted expression, my friend tried desperately to console me. "Well, we don't know for sure. It's just a rumor," my friend said, attempting to ease my distress. "But I thought I should mention it. Maybe you could stop by their house on your way back." According to my friend, Samantha and Michael have been frequently going out early in the morning and returning well past midnight. Of course, they didn't take Mia with them. As a result, there was a neighborhood rumor that they left their child behind to go out as a couple. Additionally, some people noticed Maya spending long hours on the balcony, and concerned neighbors who tried to talk to her were usually met with Samantha's baffling response, "She's fine. My daughter just loves the balcony." Hearing this, I couldn't help but think that my daughter and son-in-law might be capable of such behavior. "Well, I believe I raised Samantha properly. I can't fathom where things went wrong," I muttered, feeling a mixture of confusion and disappointment. My friend advised me to check on Maya's well-being as well. So with my hands trembling slightly, I left the house promptly and headed toward my daughter and son-in-law's home. As I pressed the doorbell, there was no sign of anyone coming out, only the sound of the chime echoing. "Are they not home?" I muttered, about to leave the premises. However, at that moment, I thought I heard something. "Help!" The word was faint, and my hearing had deteriorated lately, making it challenging to catch soft sounds. Unable to discern it clearly, I addressed the noise. "Is someone there?" There was no response. Maybe I had misheard, I thought, as I turned away from the house. But finally, I distinctly heard the plea, "Help." My spine chilled. The source of that desperate cry could only be Mia. As a doting grandmother, I couldn't possibly have misheard. Given the circumstances, my daughter and son-in-law were likely out somewhere. But even if they left their child alone, why would she be calling for help? My mind raced to the worst possibilities, and I swiftly used the spare key to enter the house. "Mia? Mia, where are you?" My voice echoed through the house, and from not too far away, I heard Mia's reply, "Grandma?" "Yes, it's Grandma." "I'm here, Grandma." Maya informed me that she was inside the closet. My worst fears had come true. Mia was left bound in a tight coil of rope inside the closet. Mia. How could this happen? Desperate, I clawed at the rope, trying to free her as quickly as possible. But the knots resisted my efforts. The constriction was severe, leaving faint marks on Mia's skin. I grabbed nearby scissors and managed to release her from the restraints. "Grandma, are Mom and Dad not here?" Mia's voice trembled, resembling a fledgling bird frightened by an external threat. "They're not here, but it's okay. You're safe now," I assured her. As I spoke, Mia flung herself into my arms, tears streaming down her face. My wet, shoveled clothes didn't matter. My daughter and son-in-law had gone too far. They had crossed a line that should never be crossed. Suppressing my trembling anger, I held Mia gently, looking at her frail body once more. I noticed she had grown even thinner, weakened from likely not eating properly for days. The marks from the rope on Mia's body were vivid, resembling bruises. These might take a while to fade. My anger surged uncontrollably, and I dialed Samantha's number. After a brief pause, a sluggish voice came through the phone. Hello?" Her tone hinted at intoxication. It was inconceivable that she would be drinking while her own daughter was in such a weakened state. Suppressing my volcanic rage, I spoke in an icy tone. "Where are you right now?" "Anywhere is fine." She didn't seem remorseful. Instead, her high spirits grated on my nerves. "Samantha, answer truthfully. Where are you?" Perhaps sensing my seriousness, she finally revealed their whereabouts. "We're on a family vacation abroad." Why a family vacation? Yet they left Mia locked in a closet. How could this be a family trip? I pretended to be fooled by my daughter's talk of including Mia. My daughter's mood was somewhat lowered, but her annoyance at my biting remarks showed through the nuances of her words. "Regardless, come home immediately." "Why? It's a special family vacation. We won't be back for another 3 days, of course." I hadn't anticipated their immediate return, but when I heard the truth directly from my daughter, it ignited a firestorm of anger within me. Just as I was about to voice my thoughts, Samantha abruptly ended the call with a dismissive "busy." Her cavalier attitude towards neglecting her own child for personal enjoyment filled me with intense contempt and disgust. To think that such despicable behavior came from my own daughter. I found myself regretting my parenting decisions and feeling a profound sense of apology towards my late husband. Amidst this whirlwind of emotions, my composure returned when I saw Mia gripping my sleeve, her worried expression pulling at my heartstrings. Mia was visibly weakened, prompting me to rush her to the hospital. The doctor confirmed that she was on the brink of severe malnutrition, though her life wasn't in immediate danger. I felt a wave of relief knowing that Mia was safe, at least for the moment. However, my anger towards my daughter and son-in-law flared up. Their actions had endangered my precious grandchild, and the consequences were severe. I was resolute in my decision that they must be held accountable, regardless of the circumstances. Discovering the extent of my daughter's actions was truly heart-wrenching. She had never displayed such extreme behavior before. While neighborhood gossip hinted at mild mistreatment, I knew my daughter wasn't foolish enough to jeopardize so much. The thought of Mia being genuinely abused filled me with dread, considering the potential ruin it could bring upon Samantha and Michael's lives. Despite my conflicted emotions, I couldn't shake the nagging question of what could drive them to such drastic measures. If there was a solid motive behind their actions, perhaps it warranted legal intervention. So, despite the painful memories it stirred, I resolved to seek a detailed account of the situation from Mia. She hesitantly began to share. I witnessed Mom bringing home a man I didn't recognize, and the implication was clear. Samantha was likely involved in an affair. My anguish deepened as Mia continued her account. I thought he might be Dad's friend, so I innocently asked, "But Mom?" Furious, piecing together Mia's story, it seemed highly probable that Samantha was indeed having an affair. Facing exposure, she resorted to extreme measures like this. With all the puzzle pieces fitting, I took action. I contacted lawyers and authorities to prepare for justice against the couple who hurt my dear Mia. When I assured Mia that I'd protect her, she tearfully said, "I want to live with Grandma." Moved by her words, I made a solemn vow. I'll be there for her no matter what lies ahead. 3 days had passed, and my daughter and her husband returned from their trip, still basking in the afterglow of their otherworldly experiences. "Let's go on another trip together," they suggested. Of course, as they inserted the key into the lock, an unsettling feeling washed over them. No matter how much they turned the key, the door remained stubbornly shut. Samantha puzzled over it, muttering, "Wait, am I doing something wrong?" Equally perplexed, Michael asked, "What's going on?" Samantha's frustration grew as the key refused to cooperate. She glanced downward and saw a sign that read "For sale." Michael followed her gaze and was equally shocked. "What on earth is happening?" he exclaimed. Both of them stood there utterly bewildered. Then it hit Samantha, the person responsible for this bizarre situation. "That old hag," she exclaimed, grabbing her phone. Samantha dialed the number registered as "annoying old lady." "Hello!" My voice, slightly high-pitched, echoed through the phone. Samantha erupted in anger, venting her frustration. "What the hell? Why is our house listed for sale? Did you do this? It's unbelievable." I chuckled, but the laughter didn't come from the phone. It emanated from behind her. When Samantha turned, she saw me wearing a triumphant smile. "I'm disappointed in you," I calmly reproached her. "I've always had doubts about your parenting style, but I never imagined it would come to this." "Huh? What are you talking about?" Samantha's voice trembled with confusion. "You claimed you were on a family vacation abroad, right? Isn't Mia supposed to be with you?" I pressed, noticing her husband's absence beside her. Samantha panicked and stammered. "Well, Mia went to a friend's house to deliver souvenirs," she blurted out. "Really?" I responded, beckoning Mia, who had been hiding behind me. She clung to my legs, and Samantha's face turned pale. "Mia, why are you here?" Samantha asked, her voice faltering. "You bound Mia with ropes and locked her in the closet. You're truly despicable. Why would you do such a thing?" I accused, my disappointment turning to anger. "Samantha, realizing she was caught, tried to justify herself. What do you know? Parenting is tough. Sometimes you have to discipline kids like that to teach them. Indeed, parenting is challenging. If only my foolish daughter had followed your example, maybe she'd be a slightly better person. I laced my words with sarcasm. Samantha fell silent, while Michael, usually quiet, voiced his frustration. Why sell the house? What's going on? When you took over the house, you never changed the ownership. So legally, this house is still mine. As the owner, I can sell it if I want, I explained, watching Samantha tremble. So where are we supposed to live now? She asked, her voice tinged with fear. Disheartened, the couple failed to express concern for their child. Don't you worry about your own child? My stern tone made them uneasy. Well, Lena is under your protection, right? No problem, I sighed, their indifference infuriating me. Samantha's words left me speechless, but there was something. Reluctantly, I needed to convey the situation. While Samantha and Michael were gallivanting, I explained everything to Child Protective Services, lawyers, and the authorities. Custody had been transferred to me. Their expressions didn't darken. Instead, they seemed oddly pleased. Really? So we don't have to deal with parenting anymore? Fantastic. Occasionally, you do something good too, Samantha remarked, her tone flippant. Michael remained silent but nodded in agreement. However, I knew that sharing this news would put them in a good mood. So, with the intention of finally retaliating, I spoke up. Well, it's not that easy for custody to change, right? You're not foolish, so you can imagine that much, I said pointedly. Despite my words, the couple seemed oblivious to the gravity of the situation. I continued, I merely consulted with Child Protective Services, but they deemed this incident quite serious and contacted the police. Their faces turned pale rapidly. I smiled sweetly and added, You too should reflect on your actions in prison. Samantha protested, Wait, what's going on? This is bad. We need to escape. Michael, usually quiet, snapped, Calm down. It's not like they're coming for us right away. Both of them seemed irritated, so I decided to add fuel to the fire. By the way, Michael, the reason Samantha locked me up this time is because her affair was about to be exposed. I revealed. Michael's face momentarily showed confusion, but then he blushed furiously and lunged at Samantha. What do you mean you were having an affair? Calm down, this old hag is just making things up. Samantha tried to soothe him, but Michael remained visibly agitated. Ignoring their squabble, I continued, and guess who Samantha's affair partner was? James, her high school classmate. You know, the guy who lives nearby. Samantha's expression tightened. How do you know all this? She had inadvertently admitted to the affair herself, and Michael was now berating her with fury. Seeing his rage, I found it somewhat amusing, but I wasn't done yet. By the way, James is married. His wife was furious when she found out. She even threatened to sue for damages. I added calmly. Samantha fell silent, understandably so. She needed to find a new home, come up with excuses for the police, and brace herself for a hefty alimony payment. The police matter was almost a foregone conclusion. She was likely to be arrested. Right now, she was experiencing the lowest point in her life. But it wasn't enough to make amends for what she did to Mia. So, I decided to deliver one final significant punishment. I actually hired a lawyer to investigate various matters. It turns out that Samantha had been using the money I sent for Mia's support. There should have been hundreds of thousands of dollars saved up, but you two seem to have spent it recklessly. Even the recent trip expenses were covered, it seems, I said, looking at Samantha, who appeared defeated. Michael, who had lost his composure until now, reacted slightly to my words. I've been inconvenienced too, so I'll be making a claim, I added with a touch of irony. Upon hearing my final statement, Samantha finally snapped and began berating me. How could you do something so terrible to your own daughter? Unbelievable. You're an utterly hopeless parent, she retorted. I could say the same about you, I countered. Samantha's anger flared, but she had brought this upon herself. I never imagined my own daughter would stoop to such levels. In the end, the couple was found guilty of child abuse and sentenced to prison. It was ironic that they had previously talked about separating due to Samantha's affair. Yet now they were both headed to jail. The alimony claims resulting from the affair, along with the repayment for accusing my financial support, left the couple drowning in debt. Michael lost his job due to the guilty verdict, and with no substantial income, they faced the daunting task of repaying this significant sum. It was a complex mix of emotions, but they had brought it upon themselves. I hope they reflect and learn from their mistakes. On the other hand, I am enjoying my new life with Mia. Initially, she struggled to adapt to living alone with her grandmother, and the lingering anxiety from her past abuse weighed heavily on her. However, as our neighbors and I treated her kindly, a glimmer of brightness returned to her expression. Mia often says, "Thank you, Grandma, for helping me. It's only natural to assist her given the circumstances. And I'd also feel sorry for not being able to help until it got to that point," I reflected. Her sincere smile when she expresses gratitude warms my heart. My remaining days will be filled with time spent with Mia. Though they may not be long, I approach each day with hope and joy.